formal comments. If you have anything to ask, I'm willing to take questions. An opportunity, meeting someone who acts as an activist, to ask them how they got into that. And someone who's planning to run for public office, because a lot of the issues you're talking about, you want to speak to those people before and during the time that they are in public office. So while I'm speaking, maybe you can think about something that you would want to ask someone who's in that position, because I think it's the perfect opportunity. And I actually wish that when I was a little bit younger, I had that opportunity. Before I really get started, though, I want to say something in terms of resources. A lot of times we try to go looking for resources and we have a hard time finding them. And the way that I got here was because of Josh. And I want to say to you that if anybody understands leadership through public service, it's Josh. And so if you have the opportunity to meet with him, do so. It will help you a lot in your life. So anyway, good morning. I'm very happy to be here. I find that it, to me, is an honor, and the reason why is not in the corny sense of it's an honor that everybody says, but it's because, I get to speak to young people and maybe have a chance to shape the course of their life. And I think young people are our greatest resource. They really are, and that's not just cliche, but it really is. Especially in our communities where we don't have, the sense of being involved in a way that some other communities do. Those young minds can really change the course of our community. And so I find it an honor that someone would entrust in me, even if it's just a little bit of time, the time and the ability to shape those young people. I want to say to you that in a little while, Afeni Shakur is going to be here. And a month ago or so, she was actually at the school I work at. And when she introduced herself, she said that she was honored to be there, of course. And she said that it was really important to her to stand there, and she knew that she probably shouldn't have been there. And similar to Afeni Shakur, maybe I shouldn't have been here either. If you look in my bio, you'll find that I grew up in the Bronx, New York, in a certain environment. And, some of my elders have a saying, there but for the grace of God go I. And I know that in my life, that is very much the truth. It's possible that I could not have been standing here and I could have been somewhere else. And I think it's possible for a lot of you also. So, I just want to make sure that I say that. Okay, so the purpose of me being here is to talk about leadership, the achievement gap, and what this all has to do with you guys. Because I think a lot of times we talk about it, but it's in the abstract sense. We talk about leadership, and we talk about affirmative action, and we talk about achievement gap, and all of these things, but we don't really relate them to the audiences we're speaking about. So let me give you a little bit of my history that's not in the bio that may start to bring this to make some sense to you as to how it will relate to you, because I think in many ways I'm probably similar to some of you guys. About 5 years ago, I started a website with my name as the URL. And the reason I started that website is because I basically woke up one morning and I said to myself, I think I have some pretty good ideas about what's going on in the world, but I never hear or see anybody like myself speaking about those issues. And so as I began to write for this website and talk to people, I realized that that's pretty important. And so the tagline of that website was same issue, different perspective. And that's what I think is really important, that you guys have a different perspective on the same issue. And not just that you have a different perspective, but that you have an important perspective on that issue, excuse me. And I would like to illustrate why I think your perspective is important by giving you my perspective, 5 minutes out of my life, on the achievement gap. When I talk to people about the achievement gap, I hear a lot about changing the schools, and individuals have or have not done. And there are some people who talk about other things, but that's, unfortunately, in my opinion, the major focus, especially in the circles I run in with politicians and people in business. But let me talk to you about 5 minutes out of my life and maybe give you a reason to understand that your voice is important and your perspective is important. I'm going to take you back to when I was a child. And when I was a child and I would come home from school, you get home and you're supposed to be doing your homework. But I always tell people before I went into my room to do my homework, I had to get home. So I start them about 5 minutes before getting to my door. Now I lived in the Bronx in the late 70s and early 80s, so kind of think of that. My 5 minutes before I got home began with me standing in a dark lobby. It began with me standing in a dark lobby with two choices. I had basically two paths I could go down to go home. The two paths were this: the elevator or the stairs. If I took the elevator, which is much faster than the stairs, and I would probably not be as tired. If I took the elevator, I had to get on a darkened elevator because usually the lights weren't in the elevator. And this darkened elevator, unfortunately, was filled with old urine. So old usually that it wasn't just that musty urine, it was the kind that was so old that it would pierce your nose. And that wasn't the worst part of it. That's bad. But the worst part of it was that I was not worried about that. I was worried about the person who was riding on top of the elevator waiting for a victim. The other way to get home, of course, was to take the stairs. Now the stairs, much like the lobby in the elevator, wasn't well lit. And this is the 80s, so I bound up the stairs, and as I was going up the stairs, I would be bounding over, almost like Skittles, crack vials all over the place, and worried about what was around the corner. And so, if I made it to my place of residence, which of course I did because I'm standing here, when I made it home, then I was to do homework. Now, when you live in those situations, those things aren't as present in your mind as they would be for other people, but they are in your mind. And so when we talk about the achievement gap and what people have achieved, we talk usually in terms of individual achievement, in terms of this is what you have or have not done. I like to talk about it in terms of a results gap because I think you look at it a little bit different. Because I would say that a person who has made it through those things and still gotten their high school degree, gotten a college degree, attained any of those things, has probably achieved a little bit more in some respects than a person who had it a little bit easier. And so